I moved home and got used as free daycare. When I asked for pay, my sister yelled at me, told me to be gone, smashed a window. I called the cops and left. They can raise their own kids. Hi Reddit, I'm 20 female and currently unemployed. Not by choice, I was laid off from my last job a couple months ago and I've been actively job hunting since. In the meantime, I moved back in with my parents to save money and figure things out. I've been sending out applications, rewriting my resume, and generally trying to stay afloat while I work through this transition period in my life. This isn't about my job though, it's about my sister. She's 33, a single mom, and she has 2 kids, my nephew who's 4, and my niece who's 2. I love those kids more than anything. Like seriously. I'd throw myself in front of a bus for them. They're bright and funny and full of energy, and I've been there since the moment they were born. But lately my sister has been leaning on me. A lot. At first it was small things, watching them for a few hours while she ran errands, picking them up from daycare when something came up. No problem. I was happy to help. I'm their aunt-uncle. That's what family does. But in the past couple of months, it's turned into something else entirely. She drops them off at my parents' house where I'm staying without warning. Sometimes I don't even get a text. They just appear, and suddenly my whole day becomes about entertaining 2 toddlers, cleaning up messes, cooking snacks, calming tantrums, reading books, watching Cocomelon on repeat until I want to scream. Some days, it's 6, 8, even 10 hours straight. It's gotten to the point where I can't do anything else. I'm rescheduling job interviews, missing out on virtual job fairs, ignoring emails because I literally don't have a second to think. It's like I've become a full-time unpaid nanny, except I never signed up for this job, and I definitely don't get nights off. Last week, I finally hit my limit. I sat her down and told her as calmly and kindly as I could that I was happy to help with the kids sometimes. But if she wanted me to be the default childcare provider, I needed to be paid. Because right now, this isn't just a favor. This is labor, and I can't afford to keep doing it for free while I'm barely scraping by and trying to get my life together. She lost it, said I was being selfish, that I was ungrateful because I live rent-free and don't have a real job, that I don't do anything all day, and that I should want to help because we're family. And then my own parents sided with her, said she's a single mom and I should be more understanding, that I should pitch in because she has it harder, that it's not like I have anything better to do, and I just shut down. Because I have been understanding. For months, I've rearranged my life, given up my time, put her needs ahead of mine every single week without complaining. But when I finally set a boundary, suddenly I'm the bad guy. It made me feel invisible, like my time, my effort, my mental health didn't matter. Like the only thing I'm good for is absorbing other people's stress. And if I say no even once, it means I'm a burden. And to be totally honest, that messed with me more than I expected. I know I'm not perfect. I know I'm in a tough spot, and living at home doesn't exactly make me feel like a superstar. But I'm trying. I'm applying. I'm networking. I'm doing everything I can to get back on my feet. I'm not lazy. I'm not useless. I just need some space to breathe, to focus, to build something of my own. But now the house is tense. My sister's barely speaking to me. My mom keeps dropping passive-aggressive comments like, well, I guess some people aren't interested in helping anymore. My dad just shrugs and avoids eye contact. And the worst part, I miss my niece and nephew. I want to be in their lives. I want them to know they can always count on me. But I also don't want them to grow up seeing me as the person who's always available, no matter how I'm doing. So I guess I'm asking AITA for asking to be paid for childcare when I live at home and don't currently have a job. Am I wrong for setting a boundary, even if it disappoints my sister? Or is this just what family's supposed to do? No questions asked. Because right now I feel like I'm drowning in guilt, and still being asked to carry everyone else too. To be totally honest, I didn't even realize how much I had started to disappear until I tried to get my own time back. When I moved back home after losing my job, it was supposed to be temporary, a few months at most, while I reoriented myself. I wasn't in a great place mentally. I'd been working a crappy retail job that barely covered rent, and when I was let go during a round of quiet layoffs, I didn't have a financial cushion to land on. So I came home. My parents said they understood. They told me to take time to breathe, reset, that I was always welcome, and they meant it, for about a week. Then came the casual comments. You're still on your laptop. What did you even do today? It must be nice not having any responsibilities. I brushed it off at first. I told myself they were just adjusting to having me back. I did my part, kept the house clean, ran errands when they asked, tried to be helpful without stepping on toes. I was trying to heal my ego quietly, trying to feel like I mattered again after being let go. Then my sister started dropping the kids off more often. It started with emergencies, a sick babysitter, a work shift that ran late, one of the kids throwing up at daycare. I stepped in, happily. I love those kids and I genuinely wanted to help. My sister thanked me and my parents told me I was being useful. I felt good about that. But gradually emergencies became, could you just watch them while I run errands? And then I'll be back in a few hours, and then I left them with you because I figured you didn't have anything going on. I didn't even notice the shift at first. I just kept saying yes. Every time without question. Because I didn't want to be difficult. Because I didn't want my family to think I was lazy or ungrateful. Because some part of me believed them when they said, you don't have anything better to do. But I did have things to do. I was trying to apply for jobs, rework my resume, prepare for interviews. I was trying to regain a sense of dignity and direction. And every time I'd get into a rhythm, sitting down with my laptop, polishing a cover letter, my phone would buzz. Hey, can you watch the kids for a bit? Or worse, I'd hear the front door open and see their little faces come bounding in, and I'd realize she hadn't even asked, just assumed. I'd try to push through sometimes with one kid climbing on me while I typed. But that doesn't work. Toddlers don't understand, give me 20 minutes to finish this application. They need snacks, attention, diaper changes, stories, cuddles, cleaning, refereeing fights over a plastic dinosaur. They need everything. And I gave it. Again and again. Every time I tried to say no gently, even, I was met with guilt. Or worse, silence. One day I told my sister I had an important Zoom call scheduled and I couldn't watch the kids that afternoon. Her response, wow, must be nice to pick and choose when you feel like being an aunt. I laughed it off. But it stung. Still, I kept trying to be nice. I didn't want to upset anyone. I didn't want to be seen as selfish. And honestly, I didn't want to rock the boat in a house I was technically a guest in. That word guest followed me everywhere. Even though I'd grown up in that house. Even though I did these dishes every night and vacuumed the floors and kept the fridge stocked. Even though I was showing up more consistently for my niece and nephew than some full-time daycare workers. In everyone else's eyes, I was still just a guest, not working, not contributing, not adulting in the way they thought I should be. One night, after putting the kids to bed and cleaning up an entire bowl of crushed goldfish crackers from the rug, I finally lost it. I was sitting at the dining table trying to finish a job application I'd already restarted 3 times, and my mom walked in and said, "You didn't take the trash out." I snapped, not loudly, not even rudely. I just said I've been watching the kids since noon and I haven't eaten yet. I'll do it later. She frowned. You don't need to get defensive. I'm not being defensive, I said. I'm just tired. She didn't respond, just walked away. And that was the moment I realized something really ugly had started to happen. Somewhere along the line, I stopped being me. I became a body, a presence, a free service. Nobody asked how I was doing. Nobody noticed the exhaustion on my face or the anxiety in my chest. Nobody saw the hundreds of unsent emails, the job leads I'd bookmarked, but never followed up on the cover letters I'd drafted and deleted because I felt too overwhelmed to finish. All they saw was what I wasn't: not employed, not paying rent, not contributing. So I made a decision. The next morning, I told my sister that I couldn't keep watching the kids for free, that I was happy to help sometimes, but if she wanted me to provide regular childcare, she needed to pay me. Not a ton. Just enough to acknowledge that what I was doing was work. She exploded, called me selfish, accused me of caring more about money than family, said I was entitled because I lived rent-free and had no real job, told me I should be grateful to have anything at all, and that helping her should be my priority, not job hunting, not finding myself, not playing pretend at being busy. And my parents? They nodded along. My mom said, she's under a lot of stress. My dad mumbled something about pulling your weight, like I hadn't been carrying the weight of 3 people for weeks. That night, I cried in the shower for an hour. Because it wasn't just about money, it was about respect. And I didn't realize how little of it I had left in that house until I asked for the smallest sliver of recognition. So yeah, I set a boundary, and they hated it. But I also started getting my time back. I submitted 3 job applications that week. I got 2 interviews lined up. I started to remember who I was outside of someone else's crisis. And for the first time in months, I felt hopeful, but also scared. Because the silence from my family, it's loud. They're not yelling anymore. They're just disappointed. And sometimes that's worse. Still, I know I can't go back. I know that if I cave now, I'll lose the little dignity I've managed to scrape together. I love my family. I love those kids. But I can't love them at the expense of myself. For a little while after I set that boundary, things went quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet. Like everyone had pulled back, but not in acceptance. In resentment. My sister stopped texting me. My parents stopped asking me to take the trash out or pick up groceries. I was suddenly invisible in the house I grew up in, no longer the resident babysitter, but also not treated like a person either. And that hurt, more than I want to admit. I didn't expect applause for asserting myself, but I didn't expect the cold shoulder either. Not from my own family. It felt like they were punishing me for remembering I had a spine. Like my value was conditional, and once I stopped performing unpaid labor, they had no use for me. But I kept moving forward. I updated my resume again, I scheduled a few interviews, I even got a freelance writing gig, just a small one, a company blog that paid per article, but it felt like something. A start. The beginning of clawing back control. Then my sister showed up unannounced. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was home alone prepping for a virtual interview scheduled for 3 p.m. I had my notes in front of me, Zoom background blurred, everything ready. And then the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but I opened the door. She was standing there with both kids. No diaper bag, no car seat in sight. She didn't even say hi. Just walked in and dropped her keys on the counter. "I need a break," she said. "From what?" "From them." She gestured to the kids like they were packages. I stared at her. "You didn't even text me." "I didn't think I had to," she snapped. "You live here. You're not doing anything. I have an interview in 20 minutes. She rolled her eyes. "So reschedule it. You've rescheduled stuff before. That was before I told you I couldn't keep doing this." She looked at me like I'd slapped her. Then her voice dropped. "You think you're better than me now because you wrote one blog post and got paid $50? My stomach twisted. "This isn't about being better," I said. "It's about the fact that I'm not your backup plan anymore." My niece, sweet, intuitive child, that she has picked up on the tension and started to cry. My nephew clung to his mom's leg. She didn't even flinch. "You are so full of yourself," she said. "You think the world owes you something because you're non-binary and depressed and broke." Boo-hoo. I'm a single mom. I don't get to fall apart just because life's hard. I never said it wasn't hard for you. You're selfish. You've always been selfish. You take and then play the victim when someone actually needs you. "I've been helping for months," I said, voice rising despite myself. "I gave up time, money, energy, and you never even said thank you." "Oh, poor you," she spat. "You want a trophy for watching your own niece and nephew?" "No," I said. "I wanted a little respect." She laughed, a bitter, cruel sound I didn't recognize. Then she stepped closer. "I respected you," she hissed, "until you become the weight of this family. Until you decided you were too good to be part of this family." And then in front of her children, she said it. "Honestly, if you can't even help your own family, you might as well just pass away. You're useless anyway." My brain short-circuited. I went cold. Not angry cold. Numb. Like someone had pulled a plug. I said nothing, just stepped back and closed the office door. Locked it. She pounded on it for a while, yelling. The kids cried. Then I heard the front door slam, and everything went quiet. The interview, I never made it. I sat on the floor for an hour shaking. I wasn't sad. I wasn't scared. I just felt like I'd been erased. That night, I told my parents everything. And you know what they said? My dad? She didn't mean it. My mom? She's just stressed. That was the moment I knew, really knew, that no one was going to protect me in that house. I was on my own. So I made a plan. The next day, I started looking for rooms to rent. Craigslist, Facebook groups, community boards. I didn't have much saved, but I had enough for a deposit. I messaged people, got ghosted, messaged more. And all the while, I kept my distance. I avoided the kitchen when my sister was over. I kept my door locked. I played with the kids only when they came to find me, and even then with boundaries. Until Friday night. I was home alone again. My parents had gone out to dinner. I was in my room watching Netflix on my laptop, headphones in. Then I heard glass shatter. I paused, sat up, took off my headphones. Another crash, yelling. I peeked out the window. Her car was in the driveway. I checked my phone. No texts, no missed calls, nothing. I walked to the hallway. Then I saw her standing in the living room, wild-eyed, holding a rock. My parents' front window was smashed. Glass everywhere. I froze. She saw me. "You locked the freaking door on me," she screamed. "What? You don't get to do that. You don't get to shut me out. After everything I've done for you, I didn't even know you were coming over," I said. She started toward me. Fists clenched. My legs moved before my brain did. I ran back into my room, slammed the door, locked it, and grabbed my phone. I could hear her outside pounding on the wood. I called 911, told the operator my sister had broken into the house and was threatening me. She was still yelling, calling me names, calling me a freak. Then it went quiet. I didn't open the door. I waited until I heard sirens. When the officers came, she was sitting on the porch sobbing. Her kids were still in the car. She told them I was trying to ruin her life, that I was mentally unstable, that I had turned the whole family against her. They asked if I wanted to press charges. I didn't know what to say. They asked again. So I said I want her to leave, and I want her to stay gone. They issued a no-contact order. My parents came home mid-scene. They were horrified, but not at her. At me. My mom cried. My dad said, "Did you really have to call the police?" Yes. Yes, I did. Because I wasn't safe. Because she was escalating. Because I had done everything not to reach that point, and no one listened. So I made them listen. I moved out 2 weeks later. The room I found was small, just a single in a shared house, but it was mine. I bought a secondhand mattress and a thrift store desk. I picked up 2 part-time jobs, started freelancing more. I got tired, but I also got free. I changed my number, blocked her, told my parents they could visit me if they respected my boundaries. So far, they haven't. The house is quiet now. Sometimes I miss the kids. Sometimes I wonder if they ask about me. If they remember the stories, the snacks, the songs I used to sing while rocking them to sleep. But I can't be their safety net if I'm not safe myself. Maybe one day when they're older, they'll find me. Maybe they'll ask what happened. And I'll tell them the truth. That I loved them, that I did everything I could, that I would have done more if the adults around them had understood what love actually means. But for now, I'm building something. Brick by brick. Word by word. And it's mine. The first night in my new room, I sat on the floor and cried. Not because I missed anyone, not because I was scared. I cried because for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt like I could breathe without someone else's expectations pressing down on my chest. It wasn't a fancy place. The carpet was worn, the walls were beige and a little scuffed. The kitchen smelled like someone else's cooking because it was my housemates were strangers. But it was quiet, and no one was screaming. No one was banging on my door. No one was handing me a baby and walking out without saying where they were going. It was mine. That first week, I was bone tired. I worked 2 part-time shifts at opposite ends of town, and in between I was ghostwriting blogs about software I barely understood. I ate cheap ramen and slept on a mattress on the floor. I showered with flip-flops on and wore noise-canceling headphones because my housemate snored through the walls. But it was still better than home. I didn't realize how much I'd been shrinking to fit in that house until I was finally somewhere I didn't have to. Without realizing it, I'd stopped dressing the way I liked. I stopped correcting people when they used the wrong pronouns. I stopped wearing my binder. I stopped doing things that made me feel like me because I was so busy being what everyone else needed. I forgot I needed things too. Out here on my own, I started remembering. The second week, I put up a poster, a little pride flag in the corner of my room. It wasn't big, it wasn't loud, but it was mine. And it stayed where I put it. I bought a plant. I bought a lamp shaped like a mushroom. I started wearing my favorite hoodie again, the one my sister once called a cry for help. because it had a cartoon frog and the words, "I'm trying my best." Maybe I was. Maybe I still am. One night, I opened my laptop to journal and ended up rereading the Reddit post that started it all. The one where I asked if I was the a-hole for wanting to be paid for watching my niece and nephew. The comments were still there. So many strangers, some supportive, some brutal, some unhinged, but one stood out. Someone had written, "You're not wrong for setting a boundary. You're just surrounded by people who profit from you not having any." That hit hard, because that's what it was. My family didn't hate me, they just depended on me staying small, staying silent, staying useful, and once I stopped being those things, they turned on me. I started therapy. It wasn't easy. I had to apply for a sliding scale clinic and wait 3 weeks for an appointment. But when I finally sat across from someone who looked me in the eye and said, "What you went through was abuse," something inside me cracked open. I always thought abuse had to be visible, loud, violent, like the movies. But mine was quieter. A constant erosion, passing away by 1,000 unmet needs, 100 guilt trips, 1,000 times I swallowed my pain and called it love. Now I was unlearning that. The therapist asked me what I wanted my life to look like, and for the first time I let myself imagine it. I wanted a safe space. I wanted work that didn't drain me. I wanted to wear clothes that made me feel like I existed. I wanted to cook pasta at midnight and dance in my socks and say no without shaking. I wanted to be loved without owing anyone for it. And bit by bit, I started building toward that. My freelance work picked up. I started getting better clients, ones that paid on time and didn't ask for 5 revisions for free. I picked up a few gigs doing editing, then content strategy. I was still working part-time retail to make ends meet, but I could see the edges of something more stable, more mine. I also started reconnecting with people I'd pulled away from. Old friends, college classmates. Even an ex who messaged me after seeing a post I wrote about burnout and said, "I never knew how much you were holding back." Neither did I. Sometimes I still wake up anxious. I hear a loud voice outside my door and my stomach knots before I remember I'm not there anymore. No one here throws tantrums. No one weaponizes love. No one hands me their children and disappears for hours. I still miss my niece and nephew. Sometimes I think about the little things, the way my nephew used to say "ominal" instead of "animal," or how my niece would wrap her arms around my neck like I was her whole world. I didn't stop loving them. I just started loving myself too. And sometimes that means walking away from people you'd give anything for because the anything they keep asking for is you. So yeah, I'm still tired, still figuring things out, still building, but I'm here, alive, healing, becoming someone I actually like. And for the first time in a long time, when I close my door at night, it's quiet. And that silence, it sounds like freedom. I still think about going back sometimes, not to move in, not to live under that roof again, but just to see the kids. To sit on the floor with them and draw dinosaurs or read Goodnight Moon, or braid my niece's hair while she tells me her latest, very important opinions about jelly beans. But I haven't gone back. Not once. Because I know what waits for me if I do. There is no version of that house where I am only their family. There is no visit that comes without obligation, no reunion that won't come with strings spoken or implied. I wish that wasn't true. I wish I could pop by for a birthday, or drop off a toy without hearing someone say, "Well, look who finally decided to show up," or "It must be nice not having real responsibilities." But that house is a machine, and I was just another part in it. Now that I'm out, I know what it costs to go back inside. And I'm not willing to pay that price anymore. Instead, I've started creating something different, a life that doesn't require me to shrink. My new place is still small. I still work long hours. I still flinch a little when my phone rings and it's an unknown number. But I've painted my walls, bought a second plant, and made friends who ask how I'm doing and wait for the answer. And I'm okay. Not fixed, not fearless, but okay. There's a part of me that still wants to believe my sister will change. That one day she'll call and say I'm sorry. That she'll mean it. That she'll ask how I'm doing, not because she needs something, but because she cares. But I've stopped waiting for that. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. And healing doesn't need permission from the people who hurt you. I don't need her to say she was wrong for me to know that I was right to leave. And when it gets hard, when the guilt sneaks in, when I miss the way my nephew used to fall asleep on my chest, or the way my niece would tell strangers, that's my favorite person. I remind myself that love isn't a reason to bleed. You can love someone and still walk away. You can miss someone and still protect yourself. You can mourn what could have been while choosing what is. The day I moved out, I felt like a failure, like I had broken the family contract, like I had finally proven what they always whispered behind my back, that I was selfish, difficult, unreliable. But now I see that I didn't break the contract. I rewrote it. I stopped being the person who absorbed everyone else's damage and called it compassion. I stopped confusing compliance with love. I stopped saying yes when my body was screaming no. And in that space, the space they made when they pushed me out, I made something better. I made me. Not the version they tolerated. Not the one who performed gratitude for the privilege of being stepped on. Not the ghost of someone else's expectations. Just me. And for the first time, I like who that is. So no, I'm not going back. But I'm not bitter either. I hope my sister gets help. I hope the kids grow up safe and soft and weird and free. I hope my parents learn how to love without keeping score. And I hope they all one day understand that the first time I said no wasn't a betrayal. It was the beginning of my life.